What's up, everyone? I've been up all night living my lifelong dream of finally getting to play Spiritborn, and in the process of testing the main build I've been dreaming about, I stumbled upon this crazy interaction with the eagle feathers and aspect of Exhilaration, which has led to this turbo feather build where dodging is basically all of our damage, and it is amazing. So, we have infinite dodges from Exhilaration, which flings out infinite feathers for huge damage and infinite vulnerability, and then we have this starter rune setup to give us infinite vigor to continuously weave Stinger in between dodges. And as if infinite dodges wasn't enough mobility, we have the long-range dash of Russian Claw to turn into a full ballistic missile. This is a build you can use for leveling or early endgame basically as soon as you get this Exhilaration aspect on an item. And you'll see from my gear at the end of the video that I haven't imprinted or tempered anything yet. All my gear is just random aspects that I've picked up so far leveling, and one of them happened to be this aspect of Exhilaration on Amulet. As soon as I got this dialed, I was able to solo blast the new seasonal content, which are these Realm Walkers with the Seething Realms on Penitent difficulty, which I believe now is the hardest we have access to until level 60 in the pit. So I'm going to make a build planner for this that I'll evolve into an endgame version, and that will be linked in the description. But literally, all you need to make this build work, just like shown here, is the right skill tree setup and this aspect of Exhilaration. Alright, so to play this build, you basically want to dodge, dip, dive, duck, and you guessed it, duck again. Just kidding, dodge, always dodge, forever dodge, that's our motto in this build. In between dodges, we have two choices. We can kick something in the face with our poison foot, and that's Stinger, or we can zoom across the screen with Russian Claw. Now, Russian Claw doesn't do too much damage in its base form, it's more of a mobility tool, and Stinger gives a really consistent poisoning to always be proccing the heal on our secondary Spirit Hall choice, which is Centipede. So we have Eagle as primary, and we have Centipede as secondary for our Spirit Hall setup, and as long as you're dodging, you can use Stinger constantly without ever running out of resource, because we have this starter rune setup we got from the very first rune box in the Nahantu campaign, which is Sem combined with Lum. I don't know how to say these guys. To make the Sem Lum rune word, I guess, which makes every single dodge restore 15 vigor. I think a good secondary starter rune word combo to run with this is Sirgar, aka the Stogie, and this is Seer combined with Gar, which makes it so every time you cast Stinger or Russian Claw 3 times in a row, you get 5% crit chance, stacking up to 25%, which is very strong early game. And the cool thing about this one, with this build specifically, is dodging isn't an ability. And so you can keep dodging and flinging feathers in between Stingers or Russian Claws without interrupting this rune instead of having to cast them perfectly 3 times in a row like normal. To complement this kit, we are running 3 incredibly powerful incarnate spells which have both a passive effect and an active effect. These are Ravager, Counterattack, and Toxic Skin. Please, for the love of God, make Sorcerer defensives like this. Please, please, please. I literally just mash all of these at the same time as I'm engaging stuff and then press them again on cooldown throughout the fight. The main things to keep in mind with these is that while Toxic Skin is active, you'll leave a poison pool behind you. While Counterattack is active, you have a 100% increased dodge chance against direct attacks, so it can be used defensively. And when Ravager is active, we deal increased damage with our Flaming Fists. And also, our core skill now teleports us to the target. So if infinite dodges and 4 Russian Claw charges wasn't enough mobility for you, you can also dash to stuff with your core skill while Ravager is active, and this will also increase our vigor generation by 30%, which will make the Semlum rune word we just talked about give us almost 20 vigor per dodge instead of 15. For our final spell, we are rocking the Eagle ult called the Seeker, which is just too damn cool. What I love about this one is it's an ult with 3 charges, and so you can leverage really high uptime on the damage scaling ult passives, which are really strong for this class. And to do this, we're basically trying to call down one giant lightning eagle spirit every 15 or 20 seconds on big groups of enemies to blast them, knock them down, and activate those supremacy and resolution damage multipliers from the skill tree. This build is also fairly tanky with our dodging, our healing, and the amount of mobility we have. The main downside is in order for all of this to work, you actually have to be hitting stuff. So if your feathers aren't hitting enemies, they're not proccing the lucky hit from aspect of Exhilaration, which is required to reset your dodge, and this is what the entire build is built around. So every once in a while, if there are very few enemies around or your feathers are missing, they won't hit enough, and so they won't proc the lucky hit, and so your dodge won't come off cooldown, and so you won't have that unlimited vigor in order to keep casting Stinger, and so we may end up just be sort of standing there for a few seconds. In this gap, you can always use Russian Claw or your ult or all your active incarnates, but if you're like me and you're just hyper mashing all your cooldowns, a couple times I've literally just run out of everything all at once. The only other real downside I've felt is because our mobility is so high, it can be easy to launch ourselves right in the middle of giant damage. And in my opinion, these are small prices to pay for the power that this build wields compared to everything else that I've tried so far. So if you can scoop Aspect of Exhilaration, I highly recommend giving it a try. Boom, that's it for this one. First Spiritborn build, baby. Going to keep these short and sweet so I can get back out there and bring you guys more builds. I will end it with a quick preview of my gear, but remember, really the only thing you need to make this build work is Aspect of Exhilaration, the proper skill tree setup, and the ability to spam your dodge. Save the build link in the description if you want to see the evolution of this build into endgame, and once I get that dialed, I will bring you guys another video. But in the meantime, I'm going to get back out there and keep ripping. Hope you're all having as much fun as I am, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.